was hanging so long. There was a time when I had money to burn. There was a time when, well, I landed. Oh, that was the least of my, that was the least of my concern. Boy, it hurts to lean back in handcuffs, like 9 counts of shame turned to rage. As a younger man, I might have put up a fight, but I just feel like a fool in my age. See, some of this trouble just finds me. Don't see no matter which way I turn.
Got it.
How do you know if it's too late? How do you know if it's too late? How do you know if it's too late, too late? You know the number one symptom of heart disease? The number one symptom of heart disease is sudden death. It's like time stands still forever on you until it starts shaking around. It starts shaking around like some crazy old hooker on there. And you know me, I can't take no preaching. I don't like it on Sunday and no other day. But I feel like I ought to be praying or something, and I have no idea what you say. I'd say most of this trouble just finds me. Yeah, most of this trouble. How do you know if it's too late? How do you know if it's too late? How do you know if it's too late? You know, I've learned nothing out here after all these years on this highway. But I'll tell you something, brothers and sisters, I have been passed by. And I have passed by more than my share of cars. And I do remember back in my younger days when I was so certain that driving even faster was what it was that was going to get me far. So ain't nothing left for me to learn here. It's just this half full, half empty cup. I figure less than an ounce of possession shit.
Yeah!
I could do that kind of time standing up. All this trouble just found me low. Whoa. It don't seem no matter which way I turn. So I say, how do you know if it's too late? How do you know if it's too late? How do you know if it's too late? How do you know? How do you know? I wrote this one in jail in Bloomington, Indiana. In my mind, this was my phone call. It worked better as a song. I tell you, sometimes I get older and the pot gets thinner. I remember sometimes sitting in that counseling office in high school so many years ago. I'll tell you why. Because when I was young, my dad took me to that church. And I was telling you about that. The only thing that seemed more important than that fucking church to him was this game called football. And so, even though I wasn't very good at it and didn't like it or understand what we had against those kids from across town, my dad insisted that I was going to be a football player.
Sorry, Dad.
Now, most people who go to folk shows didn't play football. So I'm going to explain to you what it is to be a high school football player. When you join that team, that means that every day for about 4 months out of the year, you and about 45 other guys are going to get together after school, whether it's nice outside or not. You're going to take off your comfortable shit, put on really uncomfortable shit, and you're going to go outside no matter what the weather's like, and you're going to run into and away from each other, all in relation to the movement of this ball, while consistently being yelled at by adults. My parents told me that I was representing our district. I didn't even know we were from a district, let alone that it was up for grabs, and I somehow was going to help us get it in this uncomfortable fucking outfit. And you know, before you even have these games, you practice this fucking thing you have 6 weeks of practice before you play a game. And if you've never played before and you just joined the team, at the first game, you're like, what was all that stupid shit we did in practice? None of that's happening now. There's no tires to run through. None. Why did we run through tires? And I remember there was this thing called this sled, and it had like 5 pads, and you would line up to push this thing. You and a bunch of guys, and some old guy would be standing on the back of it, yelling at you to do it harder. However hard you were doing it, harder was what he wanted. And so you would wait in line for this guy to yell at you to push this thing harder than you're pushing it, no matter how hard you're fucking pushing it. Not to mention what you have on. This is what I signed up for. So one day, I'm waiting in line to push a fucking thing, never again. And I look across the field where we're supposed to be practicing, and I notice there's this other field with these other kids in it, and they have on the same shit they wore to school. And they're talking to chicks. And they're smoking, which I heard was uncool. But other than that, I was like, why aren't we over there? That's what I said to the guy in front of me in line, who was older than me. And he said, man, those are the burnouts from the smoke pit, dude. I said, what's a burnout from the smoke pit? But then it was his turn to push. So after practice, I said to the coach, what's a burnout from the smoke pit? And he said, oh, Snider, I would hate to see you turn into a burnout from the smoke. How do you know it's too late? He said, you know, those kids look at them, they're just a bunch of dirty sheep standing around in a field doing fucking nothing. So I told myself, I don't want to be one of those guys. And then, as it would happen, about a week later, I was in the lunchroom, and the only place to sit was next to one of those guys. So I sat next to this guy, and he didn't seem uncool to me. And then he said, hey Snider, have you ever tried psychedelic mushrooms before? And I had not. So I said, no. He said, would you like to? I said, yeah, fine, shit, yeah. And he gave them to me, and I ate them. And about a half hour later, I knew that I wasn't going to be going to football practice after school. So I went over for the first time in my life to that other field, with that kid. And it was the first time I'd ever seen the life that had been planned for me from a distance. I I'm not trying to disparage them any more than the coach was trying to disparage the burnouts. But it could be argued that they were a bunch of dirty sheep standing around in the field doing nothing. And just as I was thinking that to myself, I looked down at the goalposts, and they had turned into Roman candles. And they were blasting into the sky. And I thought, jeez, man. And then just as I was rocking that, I turned over and I saw that the team, they were pushing that sled, and that old guy was yelling at them, but the sled wasn't a sled anymore. It had somehow morphed into Jesus, except that they were pushing him, and I'm like, don't, you know? And then he morphed into this other guy that wasn't Jesus, but had a robe and sandals and shit, and like looked like one of them cats that could have run with Jesus in his day. And then he morphed into, hand to God, Fred G. Sanford from the hit situation, television comedy, Sanford and Son. And they were pushing him, and he was saying, this is the big one, this is the big one. And then we made eye contact with each other, and he yelled across the field to me, do you have 2 10s for a 5, or 2 quarters for a nickel? And then he said, can you tell me how to get to Arca Butler, or can you even get there from here? And I knew in that moment that I was never going to go back to football practice ever again. How do you know? And while you know, I'll tell you, I still follow Coach Boyer and the Beaverton Beavers. That was my team. Because I think that this could be the year we win district, to be honest with you. And we got the best goalposts in the whole fucking state.